Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For years, the Prime Minister has attempted to cover up his knowledge of Beijing's interference in our elections, interference that benefited himself and the Liberal Party, as well as attempting to cover up and misstate the facts about what he knew and what Beijing did to support the candidacy of the now sitting member for Don Valley North, who the Prime Minister touted was a member of his team, interference that Beijing engaged in to advance Beijing's interests and also benefit the Prime Minister. It was confirmed, Mr. Chair, at the public inquiry last week that CSIS had briefed senior Liberal officials that Beijing did in fact interfere in the Liberal nomination in Don Valley North in 2019 to benefit the now member for Don Valley North. And we know that the Prime Minister was informed about the contents of that CSIS briefing. And in the face of the knowledge that the Prime Minister had that Beijing interfered to assist the now member for Don Valley North, then the Liberal candidate for Don Valley North, what did the Prime Minister do? He effectively gave the green light to Beijing's interference. He didn't rescind the nomination. There's nothing to indicate that he made any further inquiries. Instead, he merely shrugged his shoulders, signed off on that compromised candidate, and then attempted to cover it up. And when allegations and intelligence came to light about the activities of Beijing in support of the member for Don Valley North, the Prime Minister called people names. He attempted to misdirect and mislead, and now, of course, we know what it was reported on a year ago, that in fact Beijing did interfere in that nomination for the benefit of the member for Don Valley North. And yesterday, the Globe and Mail reported that the classified information that was provided at that CSIS briefing was illegally leaked. And that resulted in the member for Don Valley North being tipped off that he was being monitored by CSIS. We know that only a handful of top Liberals were at that CSIS briefing. These are amongst the highest ranking officials within the Liberal Party, all of whom are closely connected and associated with the Prime Minister. There were three people, three top Liberals at that CSIS briefing. They were the National Director of the Liberal Party, Azam Ismail, Braden Cayley, and Matthew LaFrance. According to the testimony of one of the Prime Minister's top advisors, Jeremy Broadhurst, when he appeared before the Procedure and House Affairs Committee on April 25th of 2023, Ismail informed him about the CSIS briefing. Broadhurst did have the requisite security clearance. So we know there were only 4 people, 3 of whom were directly briefed, a 4th who received the details of that briefing, and then we know that the following day the Prime Minister was briefed by Jeremy Broadhurst. So there were 5 people, 5 top Liberals, including the very top Liberal himself, the Prime Minister, who were briefed and had the details of that classified information. And it is important to emphasize the seriousness of what happened based upon the report in the Globe and Mail. Someone connected to the Prime Minister leaked classified information that consequently disrupted an ongoing CSIS intelligence operation. Someone connected to the Prime Minister, a top Liberal official, compromised the work of CSIS and put the partisan interests of the Liberal Party ahead of Canada's national security.
Unbelievable.
And in so doing, they committed a serious criminal offense. They contravened Section 4 of the Security of Information Act, an offense that is punishable as an indictable offense with a term of imprisonment of up to 14 years. It is about as serious as it gets. Someone, one of those four people, the Prime Minister himself, or a select number of chiefs of staff in this Liberal government who would have also had at the time the requisite security clearances, leaked classified information that then undermined and thwarted a CSIS intelligence operation to advance the partisan interests of the Liberal Party and that benefited a hostile foreign state, the Beijing-based communist regime. And so there are questions arising from this that Canadians deserve answers, and that we as parliamentarians have a responsibility on behalf of Canadians to get those answers. As I see it, there are at least four questions in the face of this shocking report that need to be answered, and that is, which top Liberal official illegally leaked the classified information? Who's the top Liberal who broke the law? What's the name of that person? Who's the criminal that is associated with the Prime Minister who compromised Canada's national security? Secondly, who tipped off the then Liberal candidate, now member for Don Valley North, that he was a target, or at least being monitored by CSIS? Thirdly, when did the Prime Minister first learn of this criminal leak? And fourth, did the Prime Minister, once he knew, and he did know, he had to have known, did he refer this criminal leak, this major national security breach by one of his top Liberal officials, to the RCMP? This incident, this scandal, this latest piece in a massive scandal involving Beijing's interference and the Prime Minister turning a blind eye, in some ways giving a green light to it when it benefited him, highlights the absolute rot and corruption of this Prime Minister and those around him. This is a serious matter, it's scandalous, and it is further evidence that for this Prime Minister and those around him, it's all about advancing the Prime Minister's selfish personal interests and the partisan political interests of the Liberal Party, which he leads, national security be damned. It's imperative that this committee, which is the Ethics Committee, which is the committee responsible for access to information, and here we have classified information and a massive illegal flow of classified information, that this committee get to work and commence hearings and bring in, as a starting point, as a prioritize, I would submit, the four people that we know received that classified information. One of those four, the Prime Minister or a senior select number of chiefs of staff in the Prime Minister's government, broke the law, and we need to find out who that person was. And we also need to hold this Prime Minister accountable, because whoever broke the law is one of his top officials. The Prime Minister knew about it. He was briefed about it. We know he turned a blind eye to the evidence of Beijing's interference. And if he did not report this criminal incident to the RCMP, then he effectively was complicit and worked to cover it up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.